All right. It's time to introduce your product. So this is where you finally get a chance to tell them how great your shit is. Now this may be the start of your sales letter if it is, a really compelling offer, or if it's something that gets a lot of social media buzz or a lot of press. But more likely, you've got a lot of work to do before you get to this point. This section is all about promises, objection handling, and qualification. So again, it's promises, objection handling, qualification. We'll dive into that in a second. But before we get into the product intro, the question you've got to ask yourself in your copy is if A, have you captured their attention? Do you have something that has sucked them in and made them want to pay attention to what you're doing? Have you framed the problem correctly? Have you talked about what the problem is, what it's not, what the straw men are, what the things are that they don't need to be focused on, and what their actual problem is that they're dealing with? Have you stirred up the emotional pot? Have you made them feel bad about all the bad consequences that could come from not solving this problem? And have you given them a little bit of hope that the problem could be solved? Have you raised the stakes? So do they know that solving the problem is important right now rather than putting it off and waiting for a bit? Have you made them feel understood? Do they feel like you empathize with them and that you are someone who they can relate to and who can relate to them, who understands their problem? And have you demonstrated authority? Do they trust you? Do they know that you're someone who is credible and whose advice they can follow? That is the checklist for all the things that you would ideally like to do before you get into your product intro. I know that's a lot. That's going to be a little bit more when you're selling information products or online courses, maybe a little bit less when you're selling a product or an app, but it doesn't technically hurt to do any of those things. So please go through that checklist before you introduce your product, see if you have done all that adequately, and if you have not, see if there's an opportunity to go back and do it more. For example, in our Lust VSL, we realized that we did not sufficiently raise the stakes. We didn't make somebody understand right off the bat that this is the most important relationship and one of the most important things in their lives, and that if it is not get solved, if it lingers, if it festers, if it gets worse, then it's just going to make their whole life worse. So we went back, we raised the stakes higher, and needless to say, we had better conversions. So it's always worth going back and doing more of that. All right, elements of a great product intro. And by the way, this section is we're gonna keep it pretty short. It's a lot of stuff that you already know about, and then we're gonna dive in and actually look at a product intro. So what are the elements of a great product intro? Well, great fanfare. This is fucking exciting. You are finally getting a chance to tell them about this product that you have been, that you've been working on for months or years or a lifetime. This is when you get a chance to do it. So you announce it with fanfare, with trumpets, with beams of light from the heavens if you can summon them. You want to clearly state the promise and the outcome. We've talked about promises and outcomes ad nauseum. This is where you get a chance to just hammer it home. You want to clearly state the mechanism. What is it that will get them the results that they want? You want to clearly handle major objections. So, without this, without that, without X, Y, and whatever, you can still get the results. So you want to make sure that you clearly handle objections here. You want to quickly paint a picture of the perfect world. So talk about how things are going to be once they get this product. And then finally, you might want to qualify your prospect. Not all the time. We'll talk about how to use qualification in a second. So let's just make sure, I think we understand all these. So the best way to contextualize them would be to walk through the intro for the girlfriend sales letter and just go from there. So it starts by saying, today everything changes for you because for the first time ever, I'm making my system publicly available. It's called the Girlfriend Activation System. And so there's been some great fanfare leading up to it. And then I say, I thought about coming up with a cooler, trendier name for it, but I settled on this one because it's quite literally how the system works. So I wanted to make sure that I drove home this point that it's going to activate a girlfriend for them. When you use it, you will activate a woman's obsession story and make her want to be your girlfriend so she'll commit herself to you fully, sexually and emotionally. There's our promise. There are our outcomes. Here's another one. It puts the dating game on autopilot so you don't have to spend a lot of time or money on it, and you can pretty much skip right to the good stuff. So skipping to the good stuff is a line that many of our customers had actually fed us about. I just hate dating. It's so annoying. I just want to skip to the good stuff. You know, the cuddling, the sex, the walking hand in hand down the street. They weren't being misogynist when they said this. They meant the whole panoply of good stuff that comes with relationships. So that's our secondary benefit there. Whether you want to, and I continue, whether you want to jump right into a relationship with a girl you've had your eye on for a while, or you want to try before you buy and play the field before deciding who you want to get serious with. So again, this is language lifted straight from our customers, and we sort of fed it right back to them as benefits. So again, I'm making promises, talking about outcomes, and talking about what is going to happen in their lives. The system gives you the power and the choice, and in case it's not crystal clear from everything I've said up to this point, the system works even if you're broke, unattractive, introverted, or old. So there I'm handling objections. I'm talking about the things that you don't need to be in order for this to work. And just to make sure we draw this point out, at the beginning of that sentence, I do make a big claim. The system gives you the power and the choice. In case it's not clear, objection handling. I go on to say nothing complicated, no cheesy lines, dumb tricks, or long stories to memorize. So knocking down straw men, overcoming objections of things that they wouldn't want. Just a simple step-by-step system to activate her obsession story that even the most dim-witted man could follow and still succeed with. So we're really trying to conjure up this image of an idiot following the system, and we actually drew that in the animation. And then that is, and again, an objection. I'm not smart enough. This won't work for me. Well, even a dim-witted man could handle this. And then we go on to say, there's just nothing easier out there. And then we kind of threw this one in as an objection handler. See, because I didn't want to have sex with thousands of girls, I didn't want a system that required a lot of hard work, or that I totally changed who I was, or learned to be a master pickup artist and spend every night at the bar. So we were selling this to a lot of people who had been frustrated that the world of dating advice that they had seen thus far was saying, hey, you gotta spend 1,000 hours at the bar, you've gotta become a pickup artist, you gotta become an alpha male, you gotta sleep with a bunch of girls. We wanted to overcome that objection, knock down that straw man as well, and make sure that they knew that this is not something that requires all of that hard work. We will be talking about the law of work in a little bit, but yeah, that was another objection. Will this take a lot of work? So to continue, all I wanted to do was to make a girl into a loyal, dedicated girlfriend if I liked her. But it just so happens that what works on one girl works on a lot of girls. So some guys are using the system to date women on their own terms. This is about the closest we ever get to saying, hey, you can sleep with a lot of people if you use this course. But you see that I didn't even go on to say, so some guys are using the system to hook up night after night with a new woman. I just said some guys are using the system to date women on their own terms. There's a specific reason I used that language instead of the other one, because I didn't want this to be a product about hooking up with a lot of women. I wanted it to be about getting that girlfriend. So that is that, handling major objections. I launched the girlfriend activation system about 3 years ago, and over 150,000 men have bought it to date. Now, this is an updated version of the VSL that I'm reading to you. You'll have a chance to meet them and hear their stories shortly. These are men from all over the world, from all ages and walks of life, and today I'm doing something very special for new clients, and if I was you, I'd probably be wondering what's exactly in the girlfriend activation system. So here I'm just, again, a little bit more fanfare, getting them ready to learn about it. I'll tell you momentarily, but first I need to shut the doors to some viewers because there are limited seats and I want them to go to the right men. So this is where I begin qualifying the customer. The girlfriend activation system isn't for you if you're not ready for more women in your life. It's not for you if you want dating to be a magical, mysterious thing you don't control, and it's definitely not for you if you don't want to follow a step-by-step proven system. If any of those things describe you, then don't keep watching so I can save the seat for the sort of guy who I want to give this to. So that whole section, I mean, by this point, our guys are kind of bought in to what this is and what it's not. And this is a little bit of, judo or jujitsu, if you will, of copywriting, where we're essentially saying, hey, we know you're ready for more women in your life. We know that you are sick of dating being a magical, mysterious thing you don't control. And we know that you want to follow a step-by-step system. And it's just, we're putting those qualifications out there as a way to sort of make these guys see that this course, it's another way of stating, hey, this course is a step-by-step system that stops dating from being a magical, mysterious thing you don't control, and that will give you more women in your life. Now you can use all sorts of objection or qualifications. You can talk about a test group if you have a test group. You can talk about how you're testing pricing, or you're testing how many people you can serve, or how successful things will be for your clients, and you only have so much time to give to a certain number of clients, which is why you can only have this open for 200 people. So you can have all sorts of ways to qualify people and make them sort of accept certain terms and conditions before they proceed. In fact, we have certain funnels. Our bonus tripwire funnel has a multi-step checkout process where you have to enter some information first in order to qualify, and then once you get through that phase, then you can go on to the checkout page. So qualification can be a very useful thing to do, especially in higher ticket items, making people apply for things or get on the phone with someone. That's part of that whole process. So to go back to this, if any of these things describe you, then don't keep watching. So I can save the seat for the sort of guy who I want to give this to, a guy who's kind of like I used to be, confused or frustrated with the girls he really likes and sick of seeing other guys having success he wants. Man, if that's you, then I can't wait for you to write in and tell me about how my system helped you land your next woman. So here's what you'll learn in the girlfriend activation system. So you see that throughout that, we're scattering in a little bit of perfect world stuff. We're talking about the outcomes he's going to have. The women will be chasing him. Go back up there. Whether you want to jump into a relationship, play the field, puts dating game on autopilot, don't have to spend a lot of time or money on it. These are all elements of the perfect world. So that is one product intro. We'll show you some product intros for other products in the notes and memoranda, or whatever we decide to call it, that comes with this course. And your product intro can be this long. It can be a little bit shorter. But again, it should have all of these items. Great fanfare, clearly state the promise and the outcome, clearly state the mechanism by which it's achieved, clearly handle major objections, paint a picture of the perfect world, and qualify your prospect. So those are all the elements of a great product intro. How do you know that you've got a great product intro? Well, it feels exciting. It's, by the time you get to it and you're writing it, it feels like there's some energy, that you want to share this with people, and that you are just bursting at the seams, and that words can barely contain the energy and enthusiasm with which you are presenting your thoughts. It's tight. So it doesn't go on and on and on. Everything in here was very carefully chosen because we knew that we wanted to hit certain points. We had already hit other points, and we wanted to leave some things out. Another way to know that you've got a product intro is it has all these elements that we discussed: fanfare, promise, outcome, mechanism, the things that are on our checklist. And finally, it paints a beautiful picture. So if you were just to read this section of what I had here, you'd say, wow, that sounds, if you're a single guy, if you're frustrated with women, you would think that that sounds pretty damn amazing. So that is the product intro. We don't have to get much more complicated than that. If you are able to hit all these points, then you will create a fantastic product intro. Go look at the worksheets to see what some other example product intros look like. And for now, we're going to move on to bullets and benefits.